Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Nikhil Kumar. Today I am going to show you why your GitHub Actions cache might not work when switching between Windows and Linux runner, and how you can actually fix this using the artifacts. This is a super common issue that can waste hours if you're not aware of how GitHub caching works behind the scenes. In my earlier video, I showed you how to speed up your GitHub Actions workflow using caching. But if your caching works on one runner and then disappears on the next, that's exactly what happens when you switch between Windows and Linux. And today I will show you why and how to fix it with the right way. Let's understand the cross-platform cache problem first. First, our Windows job succeeds. It runs perfectly fine, even the cache dependencies are expected. So far everything is good. The cache is created, but here's the catch. It tied to the Windows file system. That means the path, the formats, and even the compression methods are OS specific. Then we switch to the Linux job and boom, the cache misses. Even though we use the exact same cache keys, GitHub sees it as incompatible because it was created on a different OS. That means we are building everything from scratch, reinstalling all dependency and wasting time, defeating the purpose of caching in the first place. So while caching works great with the same OS, it breaks across the platform. And that's exactly what we are here to fix with a better approach. Let me show you this with a hands-on demo. Let's move on to a GitHub repository. So this is our GitHub repository. Let's try to create one workflow that is cross OS caching.yml. So let me copy paste the content, then I will walk you through the each step one by one. First of all, we are naming the workflow so it's easier to identify in GitHub Actions UI. This name will show up on the Actions tab when this workflow runs. Next, we want this to trigger whenever we push change to the repository. We can also test it manually with the workflow_dispatch option if needed. For now, I am not going to add that. The first job runs on a Windows machine. This is where we will generate a file and a cache of it. The first is a standard step that we need the repository code in the runner before doing anything else. Then we are creating a simple folder and writing a text file inside this. This simulates the output of a real build setup like generating HTML or the binaries. And here's the main part. We are caching the cache folder directory using the static key. This cache will be stored but only for the Windows runner. This is our second job, which will be running on the Ubuntu-latest runner, that is our Linux latest, and it needs a build on Windows. So basically it relies on the first job that is built on Windows. Here also we are again trying to checking out the code, and in the next step we are trying to restore the exact same cache using the same key, but it won't work because the cache is tied to the OS that created it. I will show you when I commit the changes. This particular step will not work, and at last here we check if the cache was actually restored. It's a basic conditional. If the file exists, show it. If not, print an error. This always shows cache not found because the Linux job can't access the Windows cache. Let me commit the changes and go back to the Actions tab. So if I duplicate the session, as we can see, we have a new workflow called cache demo cross OS, and the job is running. It's running on the build on Windows. Right now it's running on the Windows runner. It completed the execution. Now it moved to the Linux. It passed. Let's see it's able to restore the cache. As you can see, I mentioned that cache not found will be there because it's not able to identify the key. And if we see the content, we can see cache not found or empty. Even though we use the same cache key, but it failed. It's not able to recognize it. I didn't failed it intentionally because I want to show the error here. Let's understand why it got failed first. The reason behind is simple but not obvious. GitHub caches are not global. They are tied to the OS and the architecture of the runner that created them. So the cache created on the Windows latest runner can only be restored on the Windows latest runner. This design protects against issues caused by file format differences, file path separators, and the line endings. If your use case allows, the quickest fix is to use the same OS for both cache creation and the usage. But I'm not going to show this in this demo. Instead, I will show you the different way to fix it by using the artifact. In that way, we will create a cache or the artifacts on the Windows machine, and we will be using the same artifacts in the Linux machine. So let's modify the code. Let me go back to the cross-os caching.yml file and update the code. This step will remain same because we need a code, but here we are trying to create a file, that is same file, the dummy file which we created in the last step, but here we are uploading the artifact using the name called html-docs, and on the next job, which will be running on the ubuntu-latest, will be downloading that artifact, and then it will be reading that file. So let me remove this and commit the changes. Let's move on to the workflow. As we can see, the another job got triggered and it will be running on the Windows first. It's starting the execution, it's creating a file, and it's uploading on the artifacts. Then it will move on to the Linux job. As we can see here, the artifact also got uploaded and the job worked fine. And if we can see, it downloaded the artifact, and if we see the content, this is the same content which we updated in the manifest file or the YAML file. So if we come here, this is a Windows built-in file, and this is the same message we got here. Artifacts are great for cross-runner and cross-platform workflows, like building on Windows and testing on Linux. They're not meant to persist long-term like cache, but for moving build outputs, they work perfectly fine. So in today's video, we have learned that GitHub Action cache is OS scopes. You can't use it across Windows and Linux. If possible, stick to the same OS for cache creation and the usage. If not, use the artifacts to transfer data across jobs. I hope this video will clear up the things. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content like this.